Hey golfers, it's Chris. I am joined by the tamed Australian who's not that tame after all. I came back from Mexico last week with two things of tequila and some Cuban cigars. I promptly gave them to the tamed Australian and he vanished for 3 days. No one knows where he went. Rich, where did you go?
It's a secret. So I went walkabout. I mean, you supply tequila and Cuban cigars. I mean, what did you expect?
I didn't really know. I mean, I thought, oh, this will be great for
Yeah,
him because he'll get like a little break.
oh yeah, I got a nice break.
Do you remember anything from this?
No, that's probably why I can't answer the question.
Very nice. Well, basically, we're going to talk today about the 5 death moves of chipping, and we've got a few here.
And it could be like 10, 20, 30, 40 of them, but I think we've narrowed them down to our top five.
Yeah, I mean, we can go on and on and on
Yeah.
here. Depends on the golfer, I would say, but these are like the 5 most common, excuse me, that we've seen. And why don't you go through them real quick, Rich, and then we'll discuss each one and give them a little tip.
Yeah, so I think the first one starts with the weight on the wrong side. And so that'll be our first one. We've got an arms only swing. We see not necessarily a decel, but just the wrong speed, whether it be fast going back, slow going through, or slow going back and too fast going through. So we call it the decel swing, but it can be on both sides. It's basically just not the same swing speed that you need.
Yeah, tempo. Those are kind of combined.
Yeah, and
Arms
then you
only
got
swing and the decel.
you got the wrist breakdown through the impact zone. It can be at the back, but we focus more because you're flipping through the ball, and then the looking up. I think that's really the common occurrence. People like to see the ball go towards the hole, but they're peaking a little bit too early.
Yeah, I think that comes
Certain
from
issues.
being nervous, maybe. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean it's just natural instinct. We want to see the ball go to the hole, so we're basically just forcing it up. So there's so many things that can go into that, but I think if we I think if we commit to the shot and we're confident at it, I think that's it. I think what we do is we're not as confident, so we're trying to force it to the hole, and that's when we tend to look up. But if you're confident in your routine and your shot at hand, I think you have no problem with staying down on it. So those are the five. I think you had the sixth one.
Well, I just seen Jim Furyk talk about this one is when your stance gets way too open and the ball gets too far back in your stance, you kind of create a steeper plane.
Yeah, because when you open your stance up, you're typically putting the club further back in your stance, which I'm okay with. That actual shot pattern for me I love it. Having a more open stance and putting the club back, I hit the ball first. But
Well, I think Jim was talking about taking this to the extreme level, maybe,
Right.
and going overly open.
Yeah,
which creates a very steep plane.
That's the key right there, is that once you've opened your feet up and the ball goes back in your stance, most golfers are forced to pick it straight up. And as you progress and that shot is actually not a bad one, but for the average golfer, that can get you into trouble.
Yeah, I mean, you've just got to be so precise. And his point was you've got to be using the bounce of your clubs, not the leading edge when you chip, because that's when you get into trouble, is when that leading edge digs in and creates some embarrassing moments on the golf course. Of course,
Yeah,
the Vominator, he's immune to that.
Yeah, good old buddy Virgil. He can get up and down out of a trash can in the hazard.
After too much to drink.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, I don't think there's a limit for him though. So to say that it's after he drank too much, I really don't think there's a limit. So just after.
Rich was talking about a friend of his that, in case you have never heard of the Vominator, I think he's famous down in South Texas. He throws up before his tee shots and pipes them right down the middle.
Yeah, makes par and birdie. Yeah. So
Very nice.
that's his way of doing it. So
Well, let's get into death move number 1, which is the wrist breakdown. So we have a drill for this that we'll give you. But Rich, why don't you talk about like how this happens from a chipping standpoint? What would cause the wrist to break down and kind of flip at it?
yeah, because we're trying to hit that little cute shot. So we're kind of just nudging it forward, and that's really where it comes from. So when you hit when you're hitting your driver, you're basically taking a wide or takeaway, nice and smooth. So you're not inclined to flick at the ball. But when you've got this shorter club, it has the tendency to come up steep and come through steep and then flick in the wrist. So there needs to be an element of wrist break in your swing, but it needs to be controlled. When you start flicking at the ball, the inconsistency that comes from that, whether it be from flicking too early, closing the club face, flicking too late and the club face is open, it could be coming underneath the ball, over the top. There's a lot of things. I mean, basically any missed shot can come from breaking the wrist. So
yeah, I think a lot of these are a lack of commitment through the ball. So what happens is they're not so sure of the shot, and then the wrists kind of flip out there, and that they need to just commit to it and be like, I'm just going to accelerate straight through the ball. I'm not going to break my wrist down. I'm just going to power through it to my position.
I think more times than not that people are just not aware of it. That's just a bad habit. I don't think they intentionally do it. I think it's just a bad habit that they're just not aware of. So, but by identifying it as one of our death moves, then it makes them more aware of it. They can go and do a couple of drills that we give them, and then identify, okay, that is a problem. I don't think most golfers that do the flick wrist don't really know that they're doing it, or to the extent that they're doing it. So,
well, yeah, I mean, I think when you are a little nervous or unsure of your chipping game, that's when it could happen, because you kind of want to get it over with. So you maybe rush things and don't commit to it as much as you should. So that's number 1. And we've got a little a drill for this called the Punisher. Rich, why don't you explain the Punisher drill?
I think we just put a pencil in there on the last one, but you can put...
Yeah, you need a rubber band and a pencil. Or you can put it in your golf glove.
Yeah, and I would break the tip of the pencil, because unless you want to dip into Chris's Band-Aid stash. So, but yeah,
I think it's fine to have a little pain, because that kind of teaches you.
Yeah. So an elastic band over if you're right-handed, or over your left wrist, and it will be just placing a pencil straight on your top side of your wrist, so that when you go through, it'll give you instant feedback. Once you flick the wrist, it'll jab you. I think probably a tee will work as well. So, but yeah, so.
Well, you're going to feel this one on impact, maybe a little before impact, and then after impact. So you want to maintain that wrist from the impact zone all the way out.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the best one for it. I mean, you can use an alignment rod down the shaft to kind of get that motion. But I think with this, doesn't really change anything. You don't have to put the alignment rod in to grip it. You're just basically putting an aid right on your wrist. I like the pencil better, just because it's a little bit thicker or longer, and it gives you a bit more feeling across the whole hand, backside of the hand. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, once you get that poke a few times, you're going to be pretty good with that. We actually filmed all of these death moves.
Chris's BandAidStash.com. So whenever you need it,
it's the fastest drill ever. Anybody does this drill, they're cured after one shot.
Yeah, and I think we should go back to, I think it was Power and Distance Challenge when we did this. I think it was, or it might have been the Red Zone. It was the Red Zone Challenge where we did this, the flicking the wrist, and you do it a certain way that the tee doesn't jab you. But Chris comes back from practicing it, and he's got like bloody marks because he had the tee in the wrong way.
Yeah, I was doing a little experiment there, and it
so it worked.
My bad habits immediately.
Yeah,
that's called immediate feedback. And you should have that in your golf practice. So that, hey, this is golf aggressive. This isn't golf sissy.
We should have them post like photos of their bloody marks on Facebook.
Badges of honor, or what those are. So number 2 death move of chipping, weight on the back foot. So I don't, I vary. It really depends on the lie, how much weight I put on my left side, because I'm right-handed. So, your lead foot, you want to have more weight on than the back foot. And this is going to make sure that you're going to come down into that ball, a nice descending blow onto it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a balance. I mean, you don't want to go like 99% on the left and just basically just hovering the grass on your right, because then you will come up too steep.
I do. That is pretty much how I hit my sand shots. Like when I want to, a nice explosion shot. Yeah. I put a ton of weight on my left side, but with the chipping, not so much. Just maybe like 65-35.
Yeah.
Maybe 70-30.
That's a good ratio. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's really the death move is that their weight is, and it's funny because, like it's just a normal chip, but you tend to lean back a little bit more for some reason. Whereas like if they would just do a regular stance, it'd be even kill. Actually, it's not that bad if it's that way, but we tend to go the other way. So yeah, I would do 65-35 on majority of chips. When it goes into the bunkers, it really depends on the sand and the lie. So if you have really a good setup with sand density and it's perfect, then yeah, being more on the left is good. If you have a lot of sand, you don't want to put too much weight on that left side. Still probably 50-50, but it needs to change a little bit different based on how it's set up in the sand. But yeah, so that's one of the moves we see is the weight distribution. So if you can get to at least 65-35, I think that will cure it. Making people aware of it is the key.
Yeah, I mean, this is the one they don't really tell you about.
Yeah, it'll be it's one of those things. Once you are aware of it, okay, understand that, implement it, see what you do. But this is something that you will automatically place into your routine, and that
there's also no real weight shift. I mean, very minor. Taking the club back on a long shot, you might have a little bit just for balance, but I mean that weight needs to be very consistent on your lead side.
Yeah. I just thought of a really good 7th death move too, but I'll tell you later.
Okay, we'll get into that. Does that involve like having 2 girlfriends on the side when you're married?
No, it's not an Ashley Madison death move.
What I heard about that is like people could spoof email addresses in there. So
yeah,
they could have put Barack Obama's email in there, and there's nothing he could do about it. And then his email's going to be on that list, and he's going to be like, "I didn't do anything."
Yeah, I saw that because I saw an article this morning about the military.com saying that there was like 15,000 military or government issued email addresses on there. But then they went through the list and there was like thousands of them that really, they didn't exist. And then there was like 100 that came from like a Navy carrier, because I guess they have a specific email for the carrier. So it's crazy. Yeah.
Well, I saw, who was it? Do you remember the days when we used to sign each other up for those weird websites just so you would get email from them? Just think if somebody's done that to one of their buddies, they're like screwed.
Yeah.
I didn't do anything. Yeah, right. It's your email, right?
Yeah. Apparently there was an Australian radio show that had basically a wife call in saying that, she had suspected her husband cheated on her, and they checked the list, and sure enough, he was on the list, and they told her. And so it's like, I guess they regretted it, the radio host after it, but I'm like, what did they expected, to happen from that? So nothing good was going to come from it. So,
yeah. I mean, I was reading about it. It looked like there's like a couple of other websites on there too.
Yeah. And I mean, here's the thing is that these this list goes back to when they started. So who knows what status they were in? They could have been single. You know, it's just a regular dating site. I mean, the intention is that it's for married people.
Wouldn't be.
Yeah, so I'm not on it, so I got nothing to worry about.
Wouldn't be. Isn't that what Eddie Murphy says? I saw you walking out of that store holding her hand. It was you. I saw you. Wasn't me.
Yeah, it wasn't me either.
I saw you in the backseat of your car with your pants down. I saw your face. It was you. You had the tattoo on your arm. Wasn't me.
Yeah.
That's how that's going to go down.
Yeah.
So, okay, we've got the weight on the back foot drill. Sorry about that detour. We often take detours.
That was a wild one.
That's not a Butch Harmon approved detour.
No.
We got to get back to business. Butch would be very upset if he listens to this podcast, and he should.
He gets mentioned every week.
He might learn something about Waffle House.
Delicious.
All right. So weight on back foot is a death move. So how do they fix that?
I mean, it's just being aware of it. So what I do in practice, I try not to think about it on the course. It's one of those things that needs to be ingrained. So when you go to set up, take your right foot off the ground, gently place it back on the ground. And that's really it. Just making more weight on the left side. It's that simple. You don't have to get too technical with this. One, just being aware of it. And two, just making sure that when you set up that you're a little bit on the left side. That's it.
All right. So just tippy toe that right foot for a moment just to get a feel, and then gently place that foot back down. And you should be good to go from right there. And then just try to maintain that weight distribution from the backswing to the follow through.
Yeah.
So death move number 3. We need to have like some kind of audio master guy come in and like those morning radio DJs and be like, death move number 3, looking up. And have like some heavy metal music playing to it. So looking up, I'm guilty of this more often than not because I get nervous. And I want the shot to just be done with.
Yeah, I think it's more of the later, and you want it to be done with. Mm-hmm. But I mean, you're at it in your nervous bit. So a couple of reasons right there. But I think it's more of a trust thing too. You want it to be over with, so you're not really confident of the shot, so you just want to hit it and get it done with. So,
well, the problem is I've hit like hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of chip shots. I can do the shots. It's just maybe a pressure situation. I need to take a deep breath and just remind myself, hey, watch that ball all the way through.
Yeah. I mean, it comes down to confidence. So you have to have confidence on it first.
So what's your drill for this to fix it?
The looking up one, put a tee in front of the ball. And really all you're doing is just making sure you hit the tee. It's really a simple one.
Yeah, you kind of sweep it out, or how does that?
Doesn't matter. It's just putting a tee in front of the ball. That's it. Because what it does is it just keeps you down looking at the ball that split second longer. It's just a mind game type deal. That's really it. I mean, it's just, you can say, look at, at a dot behind the ball and focus on that dot, but, I don't even think that's needed. A tee in front of the ball, and there's no purpose for it. This is the beauty of it. There's no purpose for that tee. It's just to trick your mind.
It's a visual aid. Like it's almost replacing the ball in a way, and the ball gets in the way on your path to the tee.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's really the simple fix for that. I mean, if we look at confidence and all that side of it, really all that comes from is practice.
Right.
To hit a flop shot on a shot that matters, if you have no confidence, then don't hit the flop shot. Go to something that will just get you on the green.
Yeah, I was out practicing the other day, and one of the things I was focusing on was like a specific corner of the ball. You know, like if you take the ball and you cut it into four pieces, it would be the inside back of the ball. I was being very specific. I was looking at that spot. And what happened was I went from hitting okay shots to having this nice little Christmas, as you say.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's it.
Not crispness, it's Christmas. A Christmas shot where this thing was just so tight with how I hit it and precise. And the spin was a lot better too.
Yeah, and I think the same principle applies like when you're looking at picking your target on the green. So if you're doing a pitch shot and you're just looking at the hole, the chances are you're going to miss the spot that you need to get to the hole, and it will run the chip too far past. So it's when you start picking that, what we call the target zone, you're narrowing your focus down so you have a better chance of hitting that zone. The same principle applies to what you're doing, is that, you know, you're not just looking at a general area around that ball. You're pinpointing exactly where you want to hit your club on that ball. So
well, it was very noticeable after I just made that little adjustment, like how crisp the shots were after that point. Now I just have to remind myself when I'm out on the golf course to do this, and I'll be fine. It's when I'm like, oh shit, man, I wish I didn't have to hit this shot.
You could get a Duffy Waldorf golf ball and just make sure that there's, no matter where the ball sits, it's going to have something on it for you to look at.
I miss that guy. What is he doing now?
I don't know. I think he's on the Champions Tour. I don't know if he still gets his golf balls old, because it used to be his kids that used to mark up the balls.
Didn't he have like some kind of a dressing thing that he did? Like he was a weird dresser.
Oh, he wore the Hawaiian stuff, kind of like that. I mean, is that considered weird?
Well, I mean, I guess not.
Yeah, I mean, it was the Hawaiian theme, I think.
Well, speaking of dressing weird, you remember Payne Stewart, which I didn't think he dressed weird. I thought that was actually pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it was great.
And nobody, everybody thought he was a weirdo when he first started doing that.
Yeah.
But that kind of set him apart, and I think he made a lot more money from doing that than not.
I don't think people really, they don't really know what he looks like outside of his +4s and his golf outfits. Like, so that was
it so he could go to the mall.
He could do everything. I mean, if Tiger did
Chick-fil-A,
if Tiger was in +4s as his golf uniform, he could walk off the golf course in regular clothes and no one would even notice him. That's what happened with Payne. You wouldn't even notice it was him in regular clothes.
I wonder why that never caught on, because it was such a good look. Like, it just looked good, I thought.
Yeah, it depends. I think you always have, I wouldn't say always, but I think at the past 5 golf courses I've been members at, I've had probably at least one guy that does it. The Hyatt, I haven't found one there, but so in Florida there was one, in Japan.
But the Hyatt, they don't wear shirts.
Yeah, they do.
I was surprised when I went down there. I thought for sure, this is a fancy hotel, and there's like guys out there in wife beaters. How does that go?
Well, they let you out there, so I mean, next time bring a golf shirt.
It said golf on the wife beater.
It's all good then, right? It had a Titleist logo. Actually, if you get TaylorMade logo, will get you through there, because the guys are sponsored by that out there, so you're good to go.
TaylorMade's no longer the #1 club in golf.
Yeah, I saw that, but
who is?
Well, I don't know. I mean, that's the only time I've seen their list.
But you're like, who is #1? I need to know so I can buy their stuff.
Well, they still are with Driver. They're just not the overall, because I guess they used to own Driver Market, 3Wood Market, Hybrid Market. And is it Hybrid Market, or are they using Adams in there? Because Adams used to be the leader in that one.
I don't know, man, but Adams seems to have lost a little bit of their edge.
Well, I don't know if Yeah, I guess. I mean, it was to be expected with the buyout from TaylorMade that, you know, but I don't think,
Well,
I
I
mean,
mean,
it's,
honestly, they had to buy them or they were going to be
yeah,
paying half their profits.
I don't know uh, if Adams was ever like the other companies. I mean, if you look at it, they don't really, they still, if you go to a golf store, you don't see too much of their stuff. But it's great stuff. It's like the irons I have, the XTDs. I mean, they're better than the new ones, but you just don't see them on shelves. And so you
Well,
see
they were
more.
innovative back in the day, and I think maybe these big companies they come in and they're not really that innovative.
Yeah, and the thing about it is they've done that same business model from the get-go. It's like they have two different lines. I mean, the line that most of the general public see are those game improvement clubs. And to be honest, from a player's performance, like as in a high uh, or an elite golfer standpoint, those are not really that appealing. But they have that entire lineup available. It's just not something the general
Yeah,
public
you
sees.
know, the advanced golfers they don't want all those gimmicks and stuff because it makes it harder to shape your shots, and it kind of takes away the ability to do those things. Even these new balls they have don't spin hardly at all,
Yeah,
really.
yeah, and
It's
I have the three the well the hybrid, which is same as my 3 and 4 iron, which is like a driving iron style, and I love the fact that they are forgiving and a little bit easier to hit. But when it comes to hitting that shot that I, maybe need like a low punching cut or draw, it is a little harder to hit those finesse or those type of
yeah, you can't
trick
really do
shots.
it, can you?
Not as
When
easily.
it lays that down, it's like I guess you could manipulate your stance and your grip a little bit, but
It's still difficult. I find now my favorite club in the bag is the 5 iron because it's an actual like the forged iron. It's not like the driving iron look.
so
So
maybe you're coming back to my side, the old school side. We'll take you back, but you have to hit three perfect 2 irons.
yeah, I do have the Mizuno's just sitting right there.
Come back. We
Two,
want you.
it's got a 2 iron in there too. It's 2, 3, 4. They're just
Ooh,
yeah.
that's a. I like my 2 irons to have a little cavity in the back of them.
I don't know. There's not much on this
It's
one.
just a blade 2 iron. That's like I used to have a Hubert Green 1 iron.
Oh, did you use it for breakfast to
I
butter
got it
your
for like
toast?
I got it for like $9 at Oshman's. It was
Yeah,
crazy. So anyway, back up to death move number 4, the arms only swing. So
yeah,
this one to me is everything when it comes to this. I mean, you can set up, you can watch the ball. Those are all easy things to do. This is the one that I see most people struggle with. And we really cover a lot of this in the red zone challenge. It's all about tempo.
that's
So
really it. It's the sinking of the lower and upper body. I think most people when it comes to chipping, they think it's all arms. They just want to have a quiet lower body. And what they do is they shut it down. And that's where it gets into trouble. There still needs to be some movement. It just needs to be restricted and done, in the right way.
yeah, so I mean, basically, what I see are these guys that they don't take it back far enough, and then they rush it through, or they take it back too far, and then they just kind of quit on it because they're like, "Oh shit, I'm gonna hit this 10 miles down the road." So my solution is your backswing matches your follow through, and that's going to help you get through the impact zone confidently, and it's also going to kind of bring everything together smoothly.
Yeah, it's the sinking. So when you can
And
do say 9 o'clock to 9 o'clock, or is it? Yeah, so it's basically the same way.
yeah, and you
Equal
can't do it
distance.
unless you're using your body with your arms.
Yeah.
And we've got a little drill for that. And why don't you kind of tell them what that is, Rich? Do you remember this drill?
No, we filmed so many, so I forgot about it. Which
It's
one
the
is it?
towel drill.
Oh,
So
okay.
Yeah. So basically, what you're going to do is you're going to put a towel under your
between
arms.
both arms, and making sure, and then basically doing the same amount of distance on the backswing to the follow through, and then sinking the lower and upper body together.
So start, you can just stand up there and do like 10 each of these, and just, you don't have to stop and start each time. You can just have like a little pendulum motion here going. And so what you're going to do is start at 7 backswing to 7 follow through, and work your way up to 8 to 8, then 9 to 9, and just get a feel for what does that feel like.
Yeah, because the towel, when even it's going to be across your chest, you wouldn't think it has the implication that it does, because what it will do is it brings your core in, and it ties down to your lower body. So when you have that towel in here and you swing, it just automatically moves your lower body the way it should be. Not too much, and not where it it is if you're doing just all arms. So it will tie in the upper and lower body for you.
And just to make sure, Rich, I'm going to go through here, and I'm going to make sure we have all of our death moves accurately, because I've been known to be wrong. Not very often. Actually, quite a bit often.
We got the decel one as well.
Yeah, I'm going to make sure I'm naming these right. So I'll just go through here real quick.
His top 5 will be rearranged anyways later.
We're going to change the top
5. Just to give you some backstory, he'll give me a list, and this will be in order. And then when it comes to on air, that order is always changed.
We just do whatever, man.
So in no particular order, but equally important are the top 5. Could you imagine Chris Henning's top 10 list on David Letterman?
It'll change 3 times.
They throw up number 10, and you're actually reading number 2.
Rich, we've got it all completely wrong here. I'm going off of the video list. So here it is. Here's your brand new. If you were writing this down, you need to just erase everything that you have, because it's completely wrong. Death move. No, hold on a second. Let me give it. Death move number 1 of chipping. Floppy wrists. Death move number 2 of chipping. Weight on wrong foot. Death move number 3 of chipping. All arm swing. Do you like how I'm changing my voice there, Rich?
Yeah, I like it.
Death move number 4 of chipping. Looking up. Death move number 5 of chipping. Poor tempo. There you go.
Which is the decel. Yeah.
I think we've covered everything, haven't we, here?
Well, the Armsdale kind of rolls into the decel, the tempo.
Yeah. So, when you get the body working together, so what you're going to do now that you've done this, all of your chips should be the same length of backswing to follow through. I can't really think of why you wouldn't do that, unless something like I saw Jordan, he had to bury his sand shot. He had to just stab one out, but you're not going to really ever have that in chipping, I wouldn't think.
Well, if you do, it's going to be an inconsistent shot, most likely. I mean, you can pull it off, but chances are you're going to knife it through the back or hit it fat. So it comes down to, there's 2 kinds. We call it decel, but we've kind of lumped it into tempo because it's not just decel anymore. You either take it back too fast, and then really there's only one way to go from there is to go slower. So there's the decel. Or you've gone too slow back and you've really increased it through, and that flicking action becoming too fast is the same effect. So just trying to sync the 2 together so that it has an even keel across backswing and follow through. So I think the 6-1, I'm going to tell, and I haven't told Chris this, but the 6-1, if we were to have
Oh,
one,
yeah, I had a 6-1.
nah, I bumped it. It's 7.
So mine's gonna be 7 now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, to be honest, I don't know if we could get this into the top 5, but it's as equally important as the top 5 is your grip pressure. No one really talks about it. With grip pressure, it is different when it comes to chip. You have to have a very soft grip pressure with chipping. If you notice, anytime that you get tense with the grip pressure, all of these top 5 come into effect. You cannot hit a quality chip shot with tense grip. So that would be my 6th one, is to making sure that you have, basically it's just a feather. It's real loose.
Yeah, that's the one thing. My granddad, he was like, he was equally as good as you around the green. Guy was incredible, and I would say, he would be watching me basically squeezing the life out of the golf club.
Yeah.
And he's like, relax, relax. And I'd be like, well, how hard should I hold it? And he goes, look, you're holding a little baby bird. Just like you're holding a baby bird. You don't want to kill it.
You've killed a couple of birds in your time when it comes to
absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, grip pressure would be the 6th one, if we were to add one. And really
I think that's a good one. I think mine may be a little confusing to everybody.
Well, I think if we demonstrate yours, it really is very simple. The more you open your stance, the more the club goes back in your stance. And when
the more upright your plane becomes,
right?
Which
so
we don't want.
Right. The more the club is in the back of your stance, the more likely is the club goes up to hit it. So if your club is right in the middle of your stance, you're going to take it back like this. But as I put it back here,
death move number 7.
Can we get one for 6? So
hold on. Death move number 6.
Grip pressure. So for 7 is, so if this is your chipping spot right in the middle and you're taking it back like this, not a problem. But as you progressively put the club back here, instead of going this way sweeping, it's going to go on the upswing. So that's what he's saying. That move is, as you open your stance more, the ball tends to go back, and then it changes your angle. Now, I'm actually okay with this.
Well, I'm talking like at an extreme openness. Most people don't do this, but if you have trouble with a lot of chili dips, kind of look at your stance and see if maybe you're twisted too much.
Yeah. So that would be the one. You come up steep, and now I've given you this tip where when it gets dormant in Oklahoma, and you got these terrible just lies where it's basically sitting on hard pan dirt. I do that. I basically open the stance way up to where it's almost parallel. Club is like 4 inches behind my right foot, and I hood the face to where all I want is the toe, not even where the grooves are, to hit the ball first, just because of a bad lie. And I had perfected that in college to where it worked really well. Not necessarily a recommended setup for the most part, but if you have the
hybrid in that, and we're getting to that point in the season too, in most parts of the United States anyway, to where you're going to have to be looking at some of these lies, kind of changing up your stance a little bit.
Yeah, and this was back in the late 90s where that hybrid shot with the 3-wood shot really wasn't something even thought about. So now going back to that hybrid chip shot would be ideal. Easier to just pick off that crappy lie.
Yeah, I mean it really eliminates a lot of risk. Which, is what we're trying to get rid of. We wanted the whole idea behind the chipping system, which we're going to release, the tap-in challenge, is creating more consistency, which is going to give you better chances to save par or even make some birdies. So
that's it. I mean, if you watch, the coverage this morning on Tiger, he misses the fairway left on number 10, misses the green left on number 10, and then hits this flop shot, chips it in for a big birdie.
Oh, I mean, I think we've identified his two areas is his driver can't find the fairway, and then his putting.
Well, he got away with his drive, and he took away the putting problem.
Yeah, because I mean, he's a Jedi around the
Yeah,
green. I
and
mean, I still don't think anybody's better than him around the green.
yeah, so it brings me back to, when we're talking about lifting up and you're not confident about the shot or you're nervous about the shot, the chip that he had, he's opened it up. He's hitting a flop shot. He's on the first hole of the day, first hole of the tournament. He's hitting a flop shot.
Which is a nerve-wracking shot.
The percentages of these flop shots, I mean, if you really look at it, amateurs is less than 1% can pull it off. It is just so hard.
Not even be thinking about a flop.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, most golfers don't need to be even considering it. Just use the loft of the club, get it on the green, take your medicine, have a 20-foot putt, because the chances are you're going to flop it, go right under it, and have another shot at. But the confidence that he had in his chipping game to pull that off on the first hole is phenomenal. So the scrambling ability, giving you confidence, addressing, what you have at hand, giving you the tools to assess what you need to do, and selecting the right shot. That's really the key here. I think a lot of golfers just pick one club, and when they get up to the green and be like, I'm just going to make it work with this one club, when you have options. So if you can address that.
You can make it work if you know what you're doing to adjust the trajectory of the shot. And
Right.
that's what we have, like the no flop, which we need to video, which is I was out on the practice green yesterday, and I was experimenting with your method of trajectory, which is the club face. But the grass was so tight and crappy, it just wasn't going to work for me. So I went to the Tom Watson method, which is just manipulating your grip and the ball position, and it's much more consistent from a lie like that. However, if I would have had a little more grass, I would have hit it like the Guzzo method.
Yeah.
So, that's kind of the no flop to where you don't have to really open the face up. You can just modify your grip or your ball position a little bit and get a similar result. It's not going to be as high, but it's going to give you a similar result, and it's a lot more consistent than
That's it. Yeah. I mean, and that's what the tap in challenge will basically be about, is giving you a way to assess what you have at hand, selecting the right clubs, and then be confident at that particular shot. So every aspect of it, we've got something covered for it that will give you the right tools to hit that shot and get up and down for tap in.
Yeah, I think we know what we're talking about.
Cool.
I've been playing golf for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, it may not be in order, but
Well, the tap-in challenge will be in order.
Yeah.
I guarantee it, because it has to be. We're going to take them from.
We're going to put week 4 at week 1, and then week 2 at week 5. We'll just move it around.
We'll ask you to do things that we haven't taught you yet how to do, based on things that you should have learned, but we haven't taught you yet.
Just telepathic. You guys should know what we're thinking. You guys should do. Just do it.
That makes me think of like a lot of pros. They just want to have somebody hit the ball better immediately, so they'll like throw in something totally random to try to get them to hit it better, instead of just being like, "Hey, man, we need to let's go back to the beginning."
Yeah, the quick fix.
Let's just go back to the beginning and do this properly.
Yeah,
and
that's the thing you run into when you're getting lessons, is that as the golf pros that are charging more money, they need to justify that expenditure. And so there's been so many times I've gone to get lessons from pros where they're like, nothing wrong. Inside me, I'm like, there's got to be something wrong. I'm just not feeling it. But they're looking at it from their perspective, and they're like, there's nothing that you need to change. You can refine on how you practice and play and manage your ball.
Would see you feel shortchanged when they were just being honest with you.
Exactly. Well, I mean, no, I don't feel shortchanged. it just kind of reassures me that, what I'm thinking is not really that right. I just need to make sure that I manage my ball a little bit better on the
Well,
golf
you
course.
think some pros, and this isn't all of them, because I've had a lot of fantastic lessons from PGA pros, and usually the guys that are in the business a long time and they're secure in their finances, they're better about just giving you like one thing.
Yeah.
So you'll spend an hour out there and they'll be like, just do this one thing. Just do this one thing. Quit trying to do all this other crap. Just this one thing. But if you get a younger guy that's just in the business, he gives you like 20 things. And I think he's trying to help you get value for your money.
It also comes down to, if you really look at it, people, golf lessons are expensive and people don't get them as often as they should. So the coaches are basically giving them everything in one lesson because they're probably not going to see them again. And that's the problem we run into and then they get this info overload, and then we run into the case of, there's two sides to it. I've given numerous lessons where, this is the dark side that I think a lot of coaches don't like, is they will give the advice that they should be doing. They could be a quick move, do this move here, and it'll fix everything. And then you see them next week working on the range, and they're not doing it. And that's the difficult pill to swallow as a coach once they open. And so I think everyone goes through that stage as a coach. They give that tip. They go check with the golfer a week, 2 weeks later, and they're not doing it anymore. And so they basically they don't feel as invested anymore. It's hard to give someone good advice if they're not going to give it some time to ingrain in their swing. Now,
it's a lot like fitness, and I think if you're a professional golfer and you give lessons, I think maybe you should think about a membership for the people that you give lessons to.
Yeah.
Where your first 4 lessons are nothing but going over the basics. But here's the deal: I'll give you a discount. You got to commit.
Yeah.
Over the long haul. And I think if you're just straightforward with the client and like, hey, look, I've seen your golf swing. I've seen you play golf. There's a lot we need to do.
Yeah.
It's going to take a lot of lessons, and I don't want to scare you off or anything, but here's the cost. And we need to do this every single week. And we're going to have a plan. I've not had any professional that I've gone to get lessons with give me a game plan. And be it I'm probably more advanced than the average golfer, and most of my friends are who I get my lessons from, so they already know. But if I was paying somebody or choosing a pro, I'd want somebody that had a full plan for my game. Not necessarily put me into a system of how to swing a club per se, but just some guidance on, like, we're going to go from here to here, and, in 6 months, because it's going to take a long time with golf. It's not like an overnight thing. I think if you sold it that way, I think you would be a lot more successful. What do you think, Rich?
Yeah, because you're going to go away from the one-offs. You're always going to have the one-off lessons. That's going to come and go. And that could be from, the golfer can't afford to do more than that. It could be they're just visiting. There's numerous reasons. You're always going to have the one-off. But I think from a business model, if I was to say to a golfer, this is the plan I have for you. It takes an investment on both parts, from you practicing and staying in this plan, but from a cost factor as well. But so I think both parties really benefit from this. One, the golfer gets better. They have a path to go towards, and at each stage, he's going to be there with you. And then the actual coach itself is going to get more money because, they're not just doing one lesson and going away. They're going to be continually coming back to you. So,
absolutely. I know of something, Rich, that solves this problem. I have a solution to this problem.
birdiebrigade.com.
Yeah, it's called the Single Digit Blueprint, and we've got it all outlined because this is a problem that we saw.
That's it.
It's not that we wanted to start this business and, become golf instructors. But it was a major problem that we've identified in the golf business. And, it's not popular, it's not sexy, but, we've got game plans in there for just about everything now. And with the tap-in challenge, I think the only things we need to finish are like a sand module and some shot making.
Yeah, which both, I mean, we haven't talked about length on terms of those challenges, but they don't need to be as long. They could be a little bit more condensed, but we'll see how that goes when we film it. But those will be the two that are not covered right now. But yeah, so it's the premise of our challenges and the stuff that we have in the Single Digit Blueprint are that we will take range sessions, which are focusing on specific movements, drills, tips, whatever, but we'll complement them with the grease and the groove. That's the added kicker, because what happens is we get this quick fix off a TV, off a magazine, go try it at the range and it's like, oh, this doesn't work, and be done with it. All the tips you see are great if you invest some time and give it a, basically.
Yeah, I mean, taken in the right context, the tips are fantastic. However, they're not in any plan. There's not like any real game plan. So that's one of the deals we wanted to solve. We wanted to give somebody the skills and the knowledge and the teaching. There's a lot of teaching that goes into these modules to where you can learn the game from a level that Tiger Woods understands. Like, you could sit down and have breakfast with him at the Waffle House, and you guys could be talking about
delicious
shot, like how to hit certain shots, and you're going to understand it. And you're also going to learn how to fix yourself when things go off course. And I know the members, the other day I saw a guy in there, he was talking about one of those swing trainers. And I was like, you don't need one of those tempo trainers. You need the feet together drill, because you can't hit a golf ball with that big orange thing.
Yeah,
there's no point in it.
It's basically giving you some tools that you can use on the golf course to rectify, a bad trend. So if you feel like something's going wrong, you can do it on the course as you go to fix it.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's kind of this week's list in no particular order.
6 death moves, or 7.
6 death moves of chipping. You need to get like James Hetfield from Metallica to do the voiceover.
Or we could get the drummer. I would like the drummer from Metallica.
They have like a little, they could just do like a really quick musical intro, like sing "Death Moves of Chipping, Death Moves of Chipping," like go really fast playing their guitars. That would be pretty awesome. So, we've got 5 or 6 or 7 death moves of chipping here. We're going to have some videos that are going to come out, and you'll be able to get those and see those. I think those are going to be inside the members area, inside of the tap-in challenge, to be honest. And that's really it. So, if you have any questions, just hit us up on the Facebook page. Happy to answer your questions. So with that said, thanks for joining us.